I heartily welcome you all to this session, the HSST English PSC exam and introduction. I am Samson John. We may have some points about the syllabus for the exam. Please note that unlike the UGC NET exams, the PSC exam for HSST selection has a specific syllabus. You might have all appeared for sometimes the UGC NET exam. In the UGC NET exam, you note that the syllabus is so vast and wide that they simply say prose, poem, drama and fiction. They can ask anything which is written in English at any point of time, at any point of places. So you note that the syllabus is so vast. But in our case, in our HSST exam, the syllabus is very specific and not that much vast. However, PSC reserves the right to ask any question from any topics of the qualifying exam. Though a specific syllabus has been mentioned by the PSC, PSC still reserves the right to ask any question from any topics of your qualifying exam. That means you have all passed the MA English Literature. So from that MA English Literature topic, they can ask any question. This is clearly mentioned by the PSC in the syllabus as a footnote in red letters. But out of syllabus questions generally will be a maximum of 5 numbers. So we need not make much botheration about this clause because normally they will be asking only up to 5 questions out of syllabus. Okay. Then we may have a brief analysis of the syllabus. The syllabus has 4 parts having a total 100 marks. The first part is the core subject part for which 70 marks are allotted. The first part has total of 14 modules, out of which 7 modules are detailed one and the other 7 is non-detailed. Modules 1 to 8 relate mainly to British literature and carries 40 marks. Modules 9 to 14 consist of American literature, English language teaching, research, etc., which carries the rest of 30 marks of the first part. Part 2, 3 and 4 are of general type including GK and current affairs carrying a total of 30 marks. So you note that there are 4 parts and the first part is the core part which carries 70 marks. This is divided into 2. The total there will be 14 modules. First 1 to 8 modules relate to British literature and 9 to 14 modules relates to American literature, English language teaching, research, etc. So you note that out of the 14 modules, there are 7 modules is detailed one and 7 modules are non-detailed. From detailed one, they can even ask annotation questions. Okay. Then I wholeheartedly welcome you all again to this introductory class. We may start part 1, module 1, that is a detailed study. The part 1, module 1 is Batter My Heart, the 3% God by John Donne. So John Donne is an Elizabethan poet and he is a contemporary of our William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare lifespan was 1564 to 1616, but John Donne is from 1572 to 1631. John Donne 1572 1631 was a leading English poet, satirist, lawyer, clergyman, considered the founder of the metaphysical school known for intricate, passionate poetry, blending intellect and emotion, divine and earthly love, using paradoxes and extended metaphors. So, normally, as the leader or founder of the metaphysical school of poem, there may be question related to the metaphysical school, but it was actually led by our John Donne, and other members were Henry Organ and Andrew Marvell, Richard Crashaw, etc. But you note that in many exams they are asking a question regarding the metaphysical qualities of the poems. Here actually they will be referring to what is meant by conceits in the metaphysical context. Conceits are nothing but extended metaphors or similes. In normal case, you please note that when a comparison is made between love and some other things, normally it is being used with the love. It is being the flower or other things are being used. But in the case of this extended metaphors or conceits, instead of this flower, they will be using some other instruments. For example, the mathematical instrument, the compass. So you please have an idea about what is meant by conceits. Conceits are extended metaphors or similes. It is an irregular comparison. Normally when love is compared with the rose flower, in this case love will be compared with the mathematical instrument like compass. So you please have an idea about what is meant by conceits in the context of metaphysical poets. Donne is also known as the father of love songs, and his notable poems are The Flea, The Good Morrow, Death Be Not Proud, Canonization, A Valediction Forbidding Mourning, etc. In this Valediction Forbidding Mourning, he has used the famous conceit of this mathematical compass and a famous quote, "For whom the bell rings," is made by John Donne. For whom the bell tolls is done by John Donne. Okay. The poem Batter My Heart is taken from Holy Sonnets of 19 poems. Holy Sonnets is also known as Divine Sonnet or Meditation Poet. The poem Batter My Heart is the 14th poem of Holy Sonnets. So there are 19, an anthology of 19 sonnets in a particular book. That book is known as Holy Sonnets. It is also known as Divine Sonnet or Meditation Sonnet. The poem Batter My Heart is the 14th poem of Holy Sonnets. Then we may have a look into the poem Batter My Heart, 3-person God by John Donne. So you know that what is a sonnet? Sonnet is nothing but a 14-lined poem, and it is a Petrarchan poem, and here the meter is iambic pentameter, and any Petrarchan sonnet is divided into two, one an 8-line octave and another one a 6-line sestet. In the octave, actually the problem is introduced, and the sestet, the problem is resolved. So we may read the poem. Batter my heart, 3-person God for you, as yet but knock, breathe, shine, and seek to mend, that I may rise and stand overthrow me, and bend, your force to break, blow, burn, and make me new. I, like an usurped town, to another due. Usurped town means conquered town. Usurped town to another due. Labor to admit you, but oh, to no end. Reason, your viceroy in me. Your viceroy means reason in me. Me should defend, but is captivated and proves weak or untrue. Now we may switch over to Sesset. Yet dearly I love you, and would be loved fain. but am betrothed unto your enemy. Your enemy is the Satan. Divorce me, unite or break that knot again. Take me to you, imprison me, for I, except you enthrall me, never shall be free, no ever chaste, except you ravish me. Ravish means forced sexual relationship. So you please note that here you can see a speaker or a poet who is seeking the help of the God for because he is debted with the devils and he want to be free from these devils, but he is not in a position to come out of the clutches of the Satan. So he requests not the mere help of the God, but he asks, he commands the God to batter him. In the case of batter, the word batter in Malayalam means destroy. Here also it is to a certain extent used in the same sense, but here the poet has got some other meanings attached to the word batter, wherein he says that he seeks that after battering his heart, this heart is to be rebuilt, renovated or reconstructed so that he can place the God in this heart and he can love and continue to love the God, and he can also abolish the Satan in him. So this is the core aspect of the poem. We may have a very detailed look into the various aspects of this poem. Summary. In this sonnet, the speaker entreats the Christian God to batter his heart rather than treat it gently. So normally everybody will be asking to treat a person gently, but here the poet contrast to the existing traditions is asking the God to destroy his heart for reconstruct or renovate or rebuild it to have a place of God in him. He says that so far God has sought other means to change him and make him better, but these means have been too gentle. So you note that these means have been too gentle. For the speaker to become a new person, God needs to forcefully overthrow him, for he cannot seem to let God into his heart on his own, no matter how hard he tries. The speaker says that the God is to be, God should try to batter his heart and forcefully demolish the Satan in him so that he can place the true spirit God in him. Even reason which God gave the speaker has been ineffective. The speaker claims he loves God dearly but is betrothed to God's enemy. Here you note that here it is a paradox. You can see he loves God dearly but is betrothed to God's enemy. God's enemy is Satan. So if anybody loves God, will never betroth with God's enemy Satan. So this is a paradox. Then God must break this connection and capture the speaker. God must imprison him or he will never be free. Here also you can see a paradox. So if one is imprisoned, he will be cordoned, cribbed and confined. But here you please note that if God is imprisoning a person, he will become free. Then God must also ravish him. Ravish means a forced sexual relationship. So God must also ravish him or he never will be chaste. So this is a sexual paradox. Okay. Analysis. In the first 4 lines of this sonnet, the speaker directly addresses the three-person God. That is, in the Christian belief, there are 3 gods and 1 man. All these 3 gods are 1 man. That is the Holy Trinity of Father, Son and Holy Spirit. He asked that twin God to do something drastic, forcefully batter his heart. The demand may seem surprising in light of how people often visualize God's interaction with those who, like the speaker, are eager to do right. In the New Testament of the Christian Bible, God's work on human is often depicted in other, less violent ways. In Revelation 3:20, for example, God knocks on the door. Listen, I am standing at the door knocking. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come into you and eat with you and you with me. Here, actually in the New Testament, especially in the Revelation 3:20, you can see a God which is very gentle in outlook. He says that you just knock you at my door. I will open the door for you and I will help you. But you please note that here our poet or our speaker wants the God to batter him. So this is a paradox. Okay. While asking God to batter his heart, the speaker emphasizes his desire by employing an onomatopoeia. Here you please note that what is an onomatopoeia? Onomatopoeia is the production of sound equal to the sound of some things. For example, this hiss, biss, etc. The strings of one syllable words with the hard consonants knock, breathe, shine, break, blow, burn create the sound effect of battering or blows. The tone of the poem from beginning to end is one of great longing, even desperation. The speaker feels he cannot be close to God, no matter how hard he tries. Yet he longs for this closeness and begs God to achieve it by any means necessary. So the speaker again pursues that he wants the affinity from God and he is now away from God. He is in the clutches of the Satan. The God has to emancipate him from the clutches of the Satan and take him to the God's mighty position. So you note that he is longing for a association, a close association and affinity with the God, even though he is having a built-in satanic devices in him which prevents him by approaching the God in direct manner. So he is requesting the God to batter his heart and come to his heart and have a position in his say. Okay. In the second set of 4 lines, the imagery becomes even more violent. Now the speaker likens himself to a town that has been taken over by an enemy, a usurped town. That means a town is conquered. The speaker wants to allow the rightful ruler into the city but cannot. So when a city is conquered by an enemy force, they will install a ruler. Here the ruler is known as the viceroy. But the viceroy is not allowed by the Satan to rule correctly. The viceroy or representative of the rightful ruler who wields authority on behalf of that ruler is either captive. He is not in a position to deliver his authority because of his captiveness. Captive, weak or untrue. In any case, this viceroy fails to do his job. The speaker says the viceroy is reason, suggesting that God gave humans the ability to reason as a means to be more faithful and devout. In the sestet or the last 6 lines of the sonnet, the speaker takes the resolution. Speaker takes a slightly different approach to explain his relationship with God and what he wants God to do. Here he likens himself to a lover betrothed to God's enemy. Although this enemy is unnamed, the speaker implies it as Satan. To be married instead of to God, God must first make the speaker divorce Satan, breaking the ties that binds them. So this is also a paradoxical statement. The final 2 lines make use of paradox or seemingly opposite or contradictory ideas to express a deep misery. The speaker says that unless God takes him prisoner, he cannot be free. So this is as I have already explained to you, this is a very clear paradox, because when one is taken as a prisoner, he will be cabined, cribbed and confined, and he will not be free. Here he says that if the God takes him as a prisoner, he will become free. He will become free from the Satan or devil forces. This statement suggests there is a kind of imprisonment that brings freedom. So imprisonment that brings freedom is a paradox. Then he returns to the idea of God as a lover, saying, unless God ravishes him or overwhelms him sexually, he cannot be chaste or sexually pure. Here also this is a sexual paradox, and you note that this ravish means forced sexual relationship, and chaste means the modesty of a woman's state. These are paradoxical ideas, but metaphysical poetry is known for bringing paradoxical elements together to drill down into some subtle and complex truth. Here, the paradox leaves the impression that there is a truth that is beyond human reasoning or understanding. So, there is a truth that is beyond human reason or understanding, but it is only available with the God. Then we are going to the expected questions that can be asked from the poem. Here also I am making some points again. You please note that John Donne has lived in the era of, and he in the era of this Elizabethan era, wherein he was the contemporary of William Shakespeare, and you note that he is the founder of the metaphysical school of poetry, and other members of the metaphysical poets were Henry Vaughan, Andrew Marvell, Richard Crashaw, etc. And they have actually had a specific type of poems written wherein it has more intellect and more wit attached, and they have also used extended metaphors and similes, popularly known as conceits, and there may be chances of asking about the metaphysical conceits. You please have this idea of the metaphysical conceits. Then we are going to the core themes and content, and we are pursuing the PYQs and the MCQs that can be asked from this particular poem by John Donne. What is the primary theme of Batter My Heart? The beauty of nature, the complex relationship and struggle between the speaker and God, the history of England, the joys of earthly love. We know pretty well that it is the complex relationship and struggle between the speaker and God. Here the speaker asks or commands the God to batter him and enter his heart and rebuild his heart and renovate it, so that the God can be permanently placed, displacing the Satan. Okay. Then, who is the three-personed God addressed in the opening line? God, the Father, Jesus, and the Virgin Mary, the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the three wise men, the speaker, God, and Satan. Here, especially the Christians may very well know about the Holy Trinity aspect of the Christianity. The Holy Trinity, they says that there are three persons in the God known as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But together these three constitute the single grand God. So that is Holy Trinity. Okay. Then, who is the usurper that has captured the speaker's soul? An enemy king, Satan, representing sin and evil, the speaker's reason, worldly desire. Here the usurper is, of course, definitely Satan, representing sin and evil. What does reason, your viceroy in me, represent? The speaker's physical strength, nothing. The human intellect meant to govern the soul on God's behalf. A literal government official, the speaker's rebellious nature. Here actually the human intellect meant to govern the soul on God's behalf. That is the human intellect meant to govern means reason. Reason is reason your viceroy in me. They have very clearly said reason your viceroy in me. Then literary devices and imagery. Which central metaphysical conceit is used in the poem? Comparing God to a gentle gardener, comparing the soul to an usurped town. So, usurped town is a captured city. Comparing love to a journey across the sea, comparing life to a play on stage. We know pretty well that comparing the soul to an usurped town, which metaphysical conceit is used here. Actually, comparing a soul to a captured city is a metaphysical conceit. That means extended metaphor is used, not a regular metaphor, but is an irregular comparison is here used. The speaker asks God to break, blow, burn and make me new. This is an example of paradox. So here you note that, here you note that break, blow, burn, make me new. Actually, destruction leading to renewal. This is of course a paradox, because if one is distracted, normally there will be no renewal. Here actually in the case of the batter, as I have already explained, batter means destroy, but here the batter means break, blow, burn and make me new. So it is a paradox, destruction leading to renewal. The final lines, except you enthrall me, never shall be free, and nor ever chaste except you ravish me, are examples of paradox. Here also this paradox is there, because it is contradictory things are said and it has no logic but has an insight. So except you enthrall me, never shall be free. Enthrall means you enslave me. Enthrall means enslave. Never shall be free. If one is imprisoned, he will never be free. But he says that if you imprison me, I shall be free. Then not ever chaste, except you ravish me. You please note that if one is ravished or one is forcefully sexually intercoursed, he will not be a chaste. But here says that he is be chaste. So it is also a paradox. What type of imagery is predominantly used to describe the speaker's spiritual fleet? Pastoral and calm imagery, violent, martial and sexual imagery, legal and financial imagery, scientific and astronomical imagery. Here actually you note that we know very well that so many violence, because battering the heart itself is a violent. Then martial and sexual imagery has been used by the poet John Donne, and this is the correct answer: violent, martial and sexual imagery. Then structure and context. What is the poetic form of Batter My Heart? Ballad, sonnet, epic and ode. Ballad, you note that it is nothing but Nadodi particle. Sonnets, as I have already explained, it is a Petrarchan sonnet and it has 14 lines. It has been subdivided into 8 lines octave and 6 lines sestet, and the octave is introducing the problem and the sestet is resolving the problem. So it is a Petrarchan sonnet, and you also note that the Petrarch is an Italian poet. He has first used the sonnets, and this sonnets has been later transported to the British by the Earl of Surrey and the Thomas Wyatt are the persons who brought this Petrarchan sonnet to the UK. Okay. In which year were Donne's Holy Sonnets published posthumously? It was 1633. So he died in 1631 and it was published posthumously in 1633. So you also note that John Donne is a very famous poet, and he many a time in UGC net and in every exam something will be asked from John Donne. So you note that there may be a definite question that can be asked from the Batter My Heart, and we have also got one another poem of him, that is the canonization. It will be looked into in the next class. So I hope that you have followed my class well, and if you have got any recommend any suggestions to improve my class, it is always welcome. Thank you for watching my video. Okay.